Welcome back to another exciting episode of Aaron's Opinion, the podcast for blind people where we talk about critical issues in the blindness community. I'm Aaron Richmond. Tonight, like all other episodes, is of course copywritten by me and Aaron's Opinion. Thank you. And you can watch this episode right here on YouTube, where so many of you do, along with listening to us on iTunes or wherever you get a podcast. Don't forget telephone number for text messages and voicemail contributions. And of course, if you just want to call in and talk to me, 1-240-681-9869. Aaron's Opinion 6 at gmail.com. Don't forget to follow on Facebook, on Twitter, and even consider becoming a patron on my Patreon page. All right, let's get into it. This evening, we are joined by Welby, a blind person like me. And as a matter of fact, tonight, right here, we're going to help Welby with a project. You are writing a book in regards to the challenges of employment that blind people face. And as you were saying, as I understand it, you have some questions for me. So, Welby, for one, welcome to Aaron's Opinion. For another, dig right on into your questions there. Go ahead.
Hey, Aaron, thank you for letting me be on your show.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate it. And I'm writing a book. It's about us blind and visually impaired individuals, the struggles we go through in finding employment. And so I got a working title of my book is right now is Visually Exceptional, Understanding how individuals with visual impairments harness their other senses to achieve their success.
Excellent. That's off to a great start.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay. So my first question for you, Aaron, is what visual aids and technology have helped you level the playing field as a visually impaired person in the workplace?
I would say Apple, because Apple has the voiceover software. And with voiceover, I'm able to access my teaching materials. When I work as a teacher, I'm able to access Zoom. So I would say Apple has been one of the most influential and important pieces of technology in my lifetime so far. And by the way, I am 29 years old, to put it into perspective. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And is there any other visual aids that you use or you current use in the past?
I would say not. I would say not really. No.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In what ways? Give me some examples that you use that Apple has helped you within your career.
Well, it's helped me to access my my teaching material and things like that. It's helped me to access, the platform that I work on. It's helped me to access Zoom. It's I'm able to, conduct research, watch videos. VoiceOver is really the most important software, in my opinion, for blind people today.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. When it came up, this technology that changed the whole game for us.
Definitely, it did. Sure.
Okay, and what is your diagnosis of your
Sure.
eye condition?
Yes. My diagnosis is glaucoma. I was born in 1991 with a condition now known as Kabuki's syndrome, I believe, at the time, Peter's anomaly. So I'm someone who happens to be blind. I also have a congenital heart defect. And I have glaucoma. I use eye drops, and I've had 7 corneal transplants, primarily when I was a baby and infant.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been in an employment situation where you were discriminated against for being visually impaired? And if so, can you explain the situation and how did you handle the matter?
In this case, I'm gonna say, um, well, I could probably tell you. I could tell you more, maybe privately about certain things.
Okay, that's
I
fine.
tend, yeah, my answer is I tend to not highlight. Um, I mean, the answer is yes because everyone faces some discrimination. So yes is the answer. I also philosophically tend to not highlight, you know, I tend to not highlight discrimination because it gives it, in my opinion, um, the wrong energy, the wrong attention.
Mhm.
I understand why you should be writing that down in your book and keep making a note of it. I thank you for asking, but I do have a philosophy.
Okay,
Hmm.
well, I can wait till we
Sure,
get off air. That's fine.
sure, yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
So here's another one.
Hmm.
A lot of hiring managers, HR professionals, business
Yeah.
owners, and recruiters are unfamiliar with the visually impaired community. What advice would you give them to consider during their hiring process to create more employment opportunities for the visually impaired job seeker?
I would encourage them to hire visually impaired people. Usually, visually impaired or blind people, as I say, more often than not, we're able to do the job that we're applying for. And more often than not, we would be a really good worker and really loyal to your company, primarily because of our disability and us needing to overcome things in life. My advice is hire people.
Okay, give me give me some example when you say that we would be a what makes us a good and loyal employee. You got an example you can give me?
Sure, sure. Because if my hope or my theory is that if someone has a disability such as blindness, my hope is that we should be more motivated to work anyway. We should be an overly motivated person, or at least I am. So that's my view on that. That if we're already blind, we have a lot to overcome, and there are more blind people that want work than actually have work. So my theory is to give people opportunities and give people give people a job.
Yeah. So how about can you share an example of that show that you're a good and loyal employee? Give me an example that you did in your
I've
job.
been I've been working for Company X for 5.5 years.
Okay.
Hmm.
And is there like a event that took place to show that how you went overboard to be a good worker that you can share with me?
Yeah, I mean, the answer is I love my job. I always, I work every day. I work almost every day of the year, of the calendar year, and I've been doing so for 5.5 years. So I think that level of commitment, in my opinion, shows that I'm able to work and willing to work. And I wish that other blind people were also in that framework. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
My research showed that we're more loyal than a sighted person is when it comes to working. We are less likely to leave a company versus a sighted person, and we also don't miss days of work pretty much as well. Okay. Um, Being visually impaired, we have to use our other senses, hearing, smell, taste, and touch to navigate throughout the world. Which of your senses do you really rely on the most to get you through the day? And can you give me an example of how
I
you use
mean,
that?
my hearing, because as a teacher, I have to be an active listener. And the same is true with, content creation and podcasting.
Okay. Can you give me an example in a classroom that an event that happened that your hearing came into play that sighted person would be able to pick up or something like that?
Well, I mean, I work online, teaching students from all over the world. So I think a lot of times I need to, be listening because maybe English isn't their first language, usually not. They might be struggling in speaking English. So I really have to be an active listener to, maintain the student's interest and to really motivate the student. So I think that's how. Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right. All right. Whenever I'm looking for employment, I only look for jobs that I am capable of performing. I never want to put myself in a position to fail because the next person that comes along will will not next person that comes on that's vision impaired or blind will not get a chance. What is your approach when looking for employment as far as your vision impairment is concerned?
Well, I haven't looked for employment in a while. Really in about 5.5 years. Um, so I mean, at first I struggled a lot with it, deciding how to approach that. I will tell you that I was never able to fully um, understand. One thing I will say is that I was never able to fully understand how to disclose my disability. That was something that was always very, very, very unknown to me. But luckily, since I'm working for 5.5 years, I don't have to concern myself with that as much now. But yeah, that one I'm not as sure about that one.
So how did you disclose it to get the job that you have now?
Yeah, through research, and applying myself and applying for the job. hmm
What did the research tell you?
Well, the research showed me that Company X is hiring, as in 5.5 years ago, and that I meet the qualifications and that it's a job that I want. So I applied.
Okay.
hmm
So how do you during the interview? How did it go when you had to tell them that that you're vision impaired?
Well, that's interesting. So this particular company at that time, 5.5 years ago, what you did is you created a video like this, and then yeah, are you there?
I'm
Oh,
here.
oh, I just heard a strange noise. Yeah, I created a video where I basically like introduced myself in like a minute. It's kind of like a video interview basically, and then at that time I sent that in to Company X, and Company X, took a look at it. And at the time, it was a much smaller company, so they had an opening, they had a vacancy, and they were able to bring me on. Over time, it's become clear, that I'm blind because I tell students, and the calls are recorded. So over time, the community that has surrounded that company has figured it out over time, and they've embraced the idea. They've been overall incredibly kind.
So
Yes.
you made your tape, you
Right.
submitted it,
Right.
then you got hired, and they still thought you was a sighted person.
I'm not. I mean, I actually for that question, Welby, I have no idea what they thought. I don't have a clue
Yeah.
what they thought. I mean, I do have thick glasses. And my mannerisms. I'm a character. I'm quite an unusual character. So they may have thought that they may have thought that something was a little up, but a little suspicious. But then again, when you're a teacher, you want to have a big personality. So
Correct.
they at the time they might have overlooked it, but I suspect that they probably had some suspicion. But it never really got in the way. So I'm forever grateful for it. Yes.
Now that's so interesting to me because now you making me think that could be another option for companies to hire somebody to take the pressure off. Like for example, you had a pressure in the beginning about how disclosed, then also to take the pressure off the employer for having wanting to know but really can't ask because of the EEOC laws. So if they do a video and if you meet all the qualifications for that job, that's all that counts.
Right, right. And at the time, it was a much smaller company, and they were building their staff at that time. So it was kind of a right place, right time.
Okay, just be in the
Which,
right place at the right time.
unfortunately, 5.5 years ago, I got lucky. I studied, I got lucky, I sent in the information at the right day when they wanted to hire someone. Unfortunately, Welby, as your research may or may not show you, there luck is involved.
Yeah,
Okay, and it is a significant factor. And if some employer's in a bad mood, they wake up, too much sugar in the coffee, not enough, not coffee was the wrong flavor. They're in a bad mood. Hey, they might not want to hire someone that day, and that does happen.
yes.
So it's not appropriate. But the fact is, I am an imperfect human being, just like we all are. I have flaws. I admit to you, I have flaws because I'm a person. So
Right.
so do hiring managers,
Right.
for sure. Yeah.
Right. I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Since we are visually impaired, we have to learn to adapt to certain situations. Tell me about a time when you had to use your adaptability skills to overcome a particular circumstance due to your vision impairment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the things that sometimes I have to do at work with Company X is sometimes students would come into the classroom, whatever it is, and sometimes they want to read certain materials that are maybe part of the screen or part of the layout of the website. And although 99% of the website is accessible, that one little thing tends to not be. So sometimes I have to speak up and I have to say, hey, you know what? I'm blind. I need the student to read those to me. But then it's a really good opportunity for the student to be flexible and to read the information and to practice their English. So I've found that usually students are pretty kind and pretty receptive for the most part. Every once in a while, you get someone who's a little odd, but that's life. Most people are understanding and most are flexible about it.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So, how did you adapt? How did you adapt to that situation? You just make.
By speaking up. So that's another important skill for
Hmm.
working and for finding employment. You have to speak up. Hey, Welby, I'm sorry, I don't understand. Or you know what, Welby, by the way, I'm blind. How are you today? You have to be really, as a content creator, as someone who works in this modern age today, you have to be overly comfortable with talking about yourself at the right time is what it all comes down to. You got to be able to just come out of your shell and talk about yourself is what it
Hmm.
all comes down to.
Yeah, I learned over the years. I'll make myself the butt of the joke sometime just to ease things over.
Well, that's a good comedian. That's why jokes are funny. If the comedian is the joke, that's why it's funny.
Yeah.
Right. Hmm.
Hmm. A lot of employers have the impression that visually impaired people are not dedicated employees. Can you share a time that you displayed that you were dedicated and loyal to your employer?
Yeah, well, some days in the past I've worked 12 and 13 hours in one day. And as I said, I've worked for 5.5 years, basically nonstop. Now, of course, I've had vacations, I've had appointments to go to over the years, obviously, like we all do. But I've basically been employed for 5.5 years.
And not taking off and things like that.
Well, taking off very, very few times. I mean, I take off for vacations every couple of years and other events and stuff like that. But outside of it, I'm a pretty strong worker. I think actually. Hmm.
Okay. So you pretty much worked 12 or 13 years, except for you took off vacation, stuff like that. So you really don't call off work.
Not easily. I've been working, as I say, 12 hours a day, sometimes 12 hours a day, usually 8 hours a day, or sometimes 6 or 7. It all depends on the day.
Mhm.
But then, for 5.5 years, that's what has been going on. Mhm.
And what subject do you teach?
English as a second language.
Okay. All right. Um, Going through our day-to-day activities requires us to problem solve. Can you share an example of you using creative problem solving skills in your everyday life?
I mean, not just. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think we live in a society where every day every day presents one problem that needs a creative solution. I
Well, give me
think.
one. Give me one that you use today.
Oh, I don't know. I think I'm less creative. So there, I'm not as sure. Hmm.
So, Aaron, you telling me you being visually impaired, there's no day you had to be a think outside the box to maneuver through your day. because I have to do it all the time.
Well, well, fine. I mean, I think for me, I do the same teaching. I do the same schedule and the same activities, every day.
Okay.
So I think I am a creature of habit. I don't deviate from my schedule.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I understand it because like I don't deviate my schedule, but just my travels to get to and from work may with my vision impairment may be a way I had to use a problem solve on sometimes. For example, sometimes there's been times I've been to the bus stop and the bus, I either the driver didn't see me, just rolled on by, but I still had to get to work. And then I had to problem solve on how I'm gonna get to work today so I don't be late. So that's kind of scenario I was looking for, like because we that those type of things happens that was just not out of my control.
Yeah, yeah, because of the environment I live in, we don't have those types of
Okay.
problems. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are studies that suggest people who are blind and visually impaired have more accurate memory than those with sight. How does your memory play a vital part in your life?
Well, I have been blessed with a perfect memory. I factually speaking, I don't know if it has anything to do with my visual impairment or not.
Okay.
So I don't know. I do have a good memory. Yeah.
So how does memory help you with your blindness in place of your sight? And I'll give you an example. Like for me, I never drove. I don't know how to drive, but my family and friends have come to me to get the shortest direction to get to a location, and I can tell them. And I just it's based on my memory what I remember, and I think that has to play with my sight because I don't. I think that helps me out. But actually, memory is a survival skill for us people who are blind and vision impaired. Actually,
Yeah. I might be using my memory without realizing it. So, I mean, I'm sure I am, and I don't. I may not always notice. Yes.
okay,
hmm
all right. When I was in high school, my guidance counselor told me that I was not college material. She told me that I should just go and try to find me a job somewhere. That inspired me to become the person that I am today. Is there a situation, good or bad, that you can share that has inspired you or motivated you to become the person you are today?
Yeah. I mean, overall, the success that I've had at work and the response that I've gotten from my podcast and YouTube channel has motivated me to continue the successful things that I'm doing.
Okay. Is
Yeah.
there something that kickstarted you to get to this point?
Well, in other words, are you asking if there's something that kickstarted the podcast about it over a year ago?
Yes, no.
Oh,
Even has there been somebody who said, "Well, Aaron, you won't be able to be a teacher or be a podcast." And I'm not just saying those. I'm just using
right, right.
so anything that in your life that say like when my counselor told me that I'm not college material, I should just get a job. Instantly, I clicked. I said, "I'm going to college, and I'm going to be successful in what I want to do." Not to me, there's a difference between a job and a career. A job is something that you do because you got to pay the bills. A career is something you do it because you like it, and just so happen you're getting paid for it.
Right. Um, I mean, I would say, um, yeah. I mean, in high school, I had a very good teacher, the visually impaired.
Mhm.
It's a bit of a long. Now that's a bit of a long. Well, my my whole life, as you can probably infer, is a bit of a long story. But I'm still friends with this teacher, acquaintances with this teacher to this very day. As a matter of fact.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, I've known again with the part of the world where I grew up in. there weren't really a lot of people. So I think I'm someone who's extremely, extremely introverted, and I've had very, very, very few interactions with people. Um, so
Okay, so let me ask you this question.
hmm
But I want you to answer this question for me. So that teacher that you used to have a contact with,
yes.
tell me how that person inspired you to be who you are now.
Well, she's a successful person. She's overcome a lot in her own life, and the thought or the philosophy is that you just have to overcome certain things. You just have to overcome things in life, and that is what she has taught me, and that's what she taught many others, and that's what she would probably, if you were speaking to her, that is the vibe and the energy and the aura that you would get from her, probably. hmm
So give me an example when you was in school that maybe at some point you felt like you didn't want to go any further.
Yeah,
How would
I
she
mean,
encourage
well,
you?
I think to tell you the honest answer is that maybe when I was done with high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do at that time back then. I wasn't terribly interested in university, but I still went. I still graduated from a university. Um, so I think that's a really important factor. Is if your parents tell you to go to university, if your teachers tell you to go to university, you're going to university, you know.
Mhm.
And there is a correlation. Unfortunately, if a child grows up with parents who didn't go to university, which by the way is not the end of the world, but if you grow up with parents who didn't go to university, you may be less likely to go to university yourself, and that is true to some degree.
Right. So you at that point you didn't want to go to university, and she kind of gave you a
I
push.
mean, I was never really, I was always kind of neutral about it. I was never really terribly interested in it one way or the other. So that's kind of how it was then. Those were the years, 2010, 2014 to 2014.
Mhm. So and before she encouraged you to go to university, what do you think you were going to do at that point?
Oh, I have no idea.
You didn't have an idea. Okay. And was it just because your vision or your introvert? You did.
Yeah, also all of that, my personality and things like that. Yeah.
Okay.
hmm
And then what made you go? Was it that teacher, or you something just got a spark in you and said, "I'm going now"?
There wasn't a spark, but the spark was, if there was one, it was the day on the calendar where I had to move in. That
Oh,
was that was the spark.
so the day you had to go, that was it.
Yeah, that was the spark.
Okay. All right. A lot of vision impaired individuals have wonderful ideas to be successful in a career or business, but are afraid to follow their dreams. What advice would you give our fellow vision impaired friends that have career and or business dreams but are afraid to pursue them?
My advice is go for it. Pursue your dreams, and also pursue reachable and reasonable goals.
And when you say reachable and reasonable,
hmm
define that for me.
A reasonable goal is something that you really can do, and it's a little difficult. So if someone said, you know, I want to be a judge, but I hate reading, I hate writing, I hate listening, I hate learning, I hate taking exams, then I would probably tell that person, well, that's your dream to be a judge. That's not a goal. If someone came to me and said, I want to be a judge, and here's why: I love to learn, I love to listen, I love to read, I love to think. I've already passed the bar. I would say, well, I think that's a reachable goal because you've already taken the steps to realistically get you in that direction.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And this is my last question.
You can ask all you please ask all of your questions. No worries, my friend. Ask all of your questions.
Okay. For
Mm-hmm.
for for a visually impaired person looking to become a teacher like yourself,
Right.
what 5 suggestions would you recommend them to recommend to them to do to be successful?
It's very easy. Love teaching, love teaching, love teaching, love teaching, love teaching. If you don't love teaching, don't be a teacher, please.
And why do you love teaching?
Because I'm able to connect with the world and help people and know that I do and know that I'm doing the right thing. And that's what teaching is. It's about doing the right thing and giving someone else information.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that's all the questions I have. Thank you very much for
Well,
being here.
my pleasure. But of course, the recording's still on. So tell me now about how you got into this whole book thing, and tell me your side of the story. Tell me how you got into publishing this book and what your goals are, and so that I can make sure that they come true, because I'm determined to help every guest. I'm determined to help you. So
Okay.
so tell me.
So, uh, as everybody know, I was born visually impaired. I was born at birth. I've been visually impaired all my life. Um, and what happened to me was at birth, I didn't have my lungs was not fully developed, and so I had to be put in the NIC unit for a week in an incubator. And I think what happened, I had got too much oxygen,
Mm-hmm.
and it caused me to have I have what they call optic atrophy with my
Yes.
stigmas. So I can't control the left muscle of my eye, and so I don't have the peripheral vision, and my vision is really bad. Where there's no visual aid that can help me then make my vision come back normal. So I was born this way, and I decided, and I went through life like I got bullied at school. I didn't go to the school for people with vision impairments or blind because my parents couldn't afford it. So I had to go to regular public school. So you can imagine the teachers didn't know what to do with me, and the kids, all they knew was to talk about me. So I went through that, and that kind of gave me some, I would cry, come home crying. They want to go the next day and things like that. But then once I decided this is who I am, which finally came in like probably like ninth or 10th grade of school, I was just me. And I accepted who I was. And so nobody could bully me talking about me. And then I decided then I went to my senior year, my counselor, and this is kind of what inspired me, the story I was talking about for me. When I met with her, now mind the school really never hit. I had one person that go back. My middle school, my counselor in middle school, she helped me out. She helped me get large print books, talking books, and things like that. So, but when I got to high school, it was like a disconnect. My counselor there didn't help me, didn't really talk to me, except for my senior year when I told her I plan on going to college, and she said, "Well, you're not college material. Maybe you should find you a job." Instantly, it just clicked. I said, "Oh, I'm going to college, and I am going to be somebody." This is what I said to myself. I never said to her, "I'm never disrespectful." And so I'm going to tell you the story, Aaron. So I go to college, and I get there my first semester, and I flunk out. And I'm like, "Oh my God, she was right." So when I get home, I told my parents, and they told me to find a job. So I ended up getting a job, and I end up going back to college. And while I was there, I had to sign a contract with the university. And they told me that I can't flunk any classes and I can't withdraw from a class. And a couple other things, but those are the main two that was important at this before this story. And if I did break anything on this contract, they was kicking me out for good. So I get there. So I had to register late, so I just basically had to take a class at night, and I think it was earth science, and I was falling asleep. So it was a couple of classmates that I knew. I would copy their notes, but when you take notes, if it's not your note, it's not really going to benefit you. So I I ended up funking this. I was about to funk this class, so I withdrew. So I met with my advisor, and and at this point I'm part of accessibility service. So basically, people with disabilities, that's the department I'm going through. And my advisor says to me, "Well, you did good on your classes, but you withdrew from this class." I said, "Yeah, I know. I thought I was gonna get an F." And I know she said, "Well, you couldn't withdraw, you can't get an F." I said, "I knew that, but I took the worst of two evils. To me, withdrawing is not as bad as me putting an F on my report card." So she, "Well, I gotta kick you out of school." And Aaron, I'm sitting in this lady's office, and I'm saying to myself, if I allow her to kick me out today, I'm not going back to any school ever, not here or anywhere else. I'm not gonna do it. And this must have been God working for me, because something came out of my mouth that I ain't know nothing about. I said, "Well, I don't agree with you saying. I want to see the dean." And she's like, "What?" "Yeah." I said, "I don't agree with you saying, so I want to see the dean." And I didn't know how this process worked. I just said that. So she ended up taking me to the dean's office. So we sitting in this lobby, a bunch of people, and we sitting there. I'm not talking to her, and she's not talking to me. I'm looking straight, and she's looking to the right. So we sit there about 25 minutes. She gets up, "Come on, come with me." I'm like, "What? Come on with me." She said, "Okay, I'm gonna let you stay in school, but you better not withdraw from any class or flunk anything, or it's a done deal. It's a done deal." So I end up staying in college, graduating with 2 degrees, and once I got done, I started working this job at the university where I work with special ed students that's at one of the high schools right by campus. And what they did, they would come on campus and I would teach them employability skills, and they work jobs on campus to get some work skills so when they go out and get real jobs. So the liaison for the program wanted me to come down and meet the counselor. So guess who the counselor was, Aaron?
Let's take a wild guess. The same counselor that told you weren't college material.
Exactly. Now
That is cool. This is a cool story. This
now
is
that
amazing.
is that something? So how?
That is, see, Welby, that's why people should go to university, for stories like that. That is really cool.
Right. And so people always, and I tell people this story, and they always say, "So did you tell her who you were?" I said, "No." I said, I didn't want to ruffle no, but she knows.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She recognized you.
Yeah, she knows who I am. She knows what she said. And so after that happened, I end up that job at university. They lost the funding for this program, so I had it. Now I'm unemployed. I got to find me another job. So there's this agent, this company. I worked at this company 14 years after I got hired. So I go to this company, pretty much doing the same thing I was doing with these special ed kids, teaching employability skills to high school seniors to help them find a job after they graduate. So, like you, I want this job. This is my dream type of job. Basically, I know this work, but I don't want to go in there and talk about my vision impairment and they not hire me. So I made a plan that I was going to talk about it until the end of the interview, and they knew, and when I know that they wanted to hire me. And so what I did is I researched this company from everything about this agency. And I made sure I knew everything about the agency. So when the time came for them for me to ask to talk about the agency, I took up majority of the time informing them what I knew about them, what I liked about them, and how I could add on to their success. And the reason I did this is because I didn't want to get to them talk about my vision early in an interview before they could see how valuable I would be to them. And I purposely did that so I could talk about my vision last. So during this whole process of this interview, they had a part of the interview where you had to be spontaneous, and I never forget this. So they had these cards. You pick a card out, and you had to use what the scenario in that card and make up something, be creative. And so mine said the black hole. So what I did, I made up this story, and it said it don't, like I said, it had to be true, and mine wasn't, about the black hole. And what I said the black hole is this hole that's in the earth, and it's you can go through this hole and go to the other side of the earth. And basically, I forgot everything I said, but basically I told them, and the two people that interviewed, they was on the floor rolling, they loved it. And then after I got done, you know how at the end of the interview, they said, well, anything else you might want to tell us about yourself. So now I went through this whole interview. They was impressed how much I knew about the agency, how much I could benefit the agency. And then I nailed this spontaneous scenario that they want me to be creative with. So then the last thing, what else you want to tell us? I said, oh yeah, by the way, also, I'm visually impaired. I'm considered legally blind and I can't drive, but I can do this job. They paused, but they were so impressed with you. Well, how would you get around? I said, I ride public transportation. I said, but that's not a problem, never been a problem. So they hired me. And I think that technique that I used, it worked because because you know, once you start talking about your blindness and things like that, then that's going to be the main topic. So I put that on a back burner after everything else they found out about me and that they enjoyed and they thought I bring value to their company. And I got the job and I worked there for 14 years.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's definitely the advice that I needed years ago. And the reason why I do this podcast is, as you know, so many other blind people are not employed and need this advice today. So thank you. So thank you. It's a really cool story, and you're a great speaker, and you speak really well, and you have a really interesting way of delivering, your message. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you.
So okay, what do you now? And how did you get into this book that you're going to be?
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's the question. So,
oh, no problem. We both got sidetracked. You know, we both started talking there for a while. But yeah, back to the book. Yeah,
I have a friend of mine. I guess it was her cousin and somebody else, and because I had told her years ago that I always want to write a book. I want to write a book about my vision impairment. I think it's a story that hasn't been told. I want to do it. So she was on LinkedIn and saw her cousin, his friend, they had posted that they write these books and things like that. So she inquired, and this program is through, it's called the Book Creators. It's a program offered through Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. And it's an online course and it's free. You have to pay for your editor, which was $500. And the whole process you go through, you're in this course and you're writing your book while you're in this course. It's called the Book Creators. And while you're in this course, we have class once a week. And you heard of a program called Quip.
I mean, no, but
So Quip is this program. It's kind of like Google Docs,
okay.
but you actually you're in it. You in it with a bit. You all got earning. It's like a cohort. You all in here together, and like all our files in together. We have all have our individual folders and things like that. It's basically you writing a book with a support system. So I have my editor that I meet with me once a week. So she goes over everything I write. We make plans, my goal for the next week, and things like that. But then I have a class with the professor, and he does a lecture and things. And then while we in class, he breaks it off in groups, and it's on Zoom. He breaks it off in groups, and we talk to each other about our books, what our topics are, what our struggles are. We give advice on things, and so we also help each other out, like so give them support. Like I need somebody to interview I need to talk to somebody who's blind or vision impaired. And, oh, I got a friend. I got 2 interviews from the classmates, and once you go through there, they have a nonprofit publishing company that assists you and get your book published. And my book will be published in August 2020 this year, August of this year. And it's really great, a great program. I recommend it for anybody else. And I have never written a book before. I always wanted to write one, but this has inspired me to change my whole career choice because I'm planning on writing another one. I already know it. I'm gonna write another one after this one.
Well, that's wonderful. Yeah. Um, have you been following Aaron's opinion and
Yes.
some of the yeah, because I we interviewed someone else who published a book on Audible. Now, I only read books on Audible, so I'm sure your book is going to be on audible.com, right?
Well, you know it is. I'm visually impaired. I wouldn't leave my people out. You know that.
Well, how about this? Number 1, if you have any questions about how to get your book to audible.com, let me know off the air, and I will certainly personally reach out to that other person in that other episode for you, or perhaps even better, help you to get connected to her if that is something that you need and would like in the future. I'd be more than happy to help. Number 2, when it does come out on Audible, come on over to this podcast so we can do a celebratory episode where we highlight the book, and so that I can make sure to promote it and tweet it out for you so that other blind people can get the book on Audible. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate
Um,
that. I definitely, I'll be back on, no problem.
I mean it. Yeah.
And I mean it too. Actually, I would love to be like a regular on your show. Maybe I can do like a segment on your show sometime or something. I don't know.
I know. Yes, you're going to be here. There you go. What you haven't figured out is that it's impossible to lose track of me now. See, so there's a side effect of being on this podcast. I know who you are.
That's fine. Good people get to know, so it's fine.
You are there's something very you're a very interesting person. You're very positive. I just enjoy talking to you. So in this book, I know that you're gonna say, well, you guys have to pre-order, but if there's only one reason why I should listen to your book on Audible, what is it?
But I think the one reason you listen to your book,
But the only one reason. There are many, but if there's only one reason I should listen, why?
because for one, you're blind and you can get an idea of how the employer should treat you as a applicant or potential candidate for their job. And once you read it as being blind or visually impaired, you already have an idea of how to handle them based on what the book is telling them to do in a situation, because I'm basically letting them know how valuable you are, even though you're blind, and how you contribute to their company based on the qualities that you have living from your day-to-day life, being a blind person.
Yeah. Excellent. Cool. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. And how's your podcasting coming along?
So
Please tell me you're a podcaster. If not, you need to start one.
I don't have one. I think about
Well, you're
starting.
going to start one.
I'm thinking
Right?
about it. And
Well, don't think, do it. If you think long enough, you'll never do it. That's the
but,
problem.
but that's one of my goals for my book. I want to do a TED talk, a
Oh,
TEDx. I want to do a podcast. And what I want to do also, I want to start creating workshops for employers and HR professionals
mm-hmm.
to teach them how they can hire us into their company to see that we contribute just as well as a sighted person does. So,
Well, I would be more than happy to support you in doing a TED talk. I'd be more than happy to maybe look into that for you. See what we can do to make sure that your dream comes true. Far too often the right dreams never come true. And if you're a guest on this show, I genuinely want to make sure that your dream does come true. So
okay.
let's see what we can do. I'll tell you, as far as the podcasting goes, you should just set up a free profile on Anchor. I mean, that's the easiest way and the most effective way to do it. And then and then you just build it up from there. It's like writing or practicing anything else. You just build just one story at a time. Just
Mhm.
one foot in front of the other. Yeah.
Okay. So baby
hmm
steps and you grow that way.
Oh, definitely. And I will tell you, it's a painfully slow process.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, patience is a virtue, so why not?
Well, why not?
Mhm.
Excellent. So we are. You've been a magnificent guest here.
Thank you.
But we are to that point of the show where I tell you that at the moment, kind of out of questions. So I like to ask one great question to finish out a great episode, as always.
Okay.
So, you don't really know much about me. If you could ask me only one question to really make me sweat and to really know if I'm worth my salt, what do you want to ask me?
Oh, that's a good question, Eric. Aaron, you asked me. Um, what is your purpose in life?
To help you,
Help be more specific.
to help people, help the world, and to educate people and to create content that everyone enjoys. How about that?
Okay. All right.
So if someone wants to get in touch with you, Welby, if they enjoyed this episode, if someone wants to get in touch with you, how would they go about doing that?
Oh, Eric, yeah. Well, I didn't tell you, also got a business. I got a small business development company. It's called Broadest Business Solutions. And they can go to my website. It's broadestbizsoul.com, which is BROA.
Here. I tell you what. Click the link in the description. So if you could send me that link, I'll just make that the description link, and then people can just go right to your business. How about that?
Put it in chat.
Uh, yeah, you can, or you can text it later. Either way, yeah.
Okay, I can do that. Yeah. Well, they can reach me on my email address,
Mm-hmm.
and that's BROADDUSBIZSOL@gmail.com.
Cool. All right. Well, that is really really interesting, and I will certainly put that address, or we'll certainly put that website in the link so people can come on over to your business. So basically, I mean, what in a nutshell, what does your business do, and how can your business help people?
It's a small business development company, and I assist people in getting business started, help them do marketing plans, and also I can help them get their business registered with the Secretary of State's office, whenever state they live in the United States.
Very good. Very good. All right, guys. Well, I certainly enjoyed that. We're gonna certainly have many more episodes with Welby. Welby, I am sure. This was another exciting episode of Aaron's Opinion. And I'm Aaron Richmond. Email address aaronsopinion6 at gmail.com. 1-240-681-9869. Don't forget, follow on Facebook, Twitter, comment below. Even consider becoming a patron on my Patreon page. Welby, I wish you the very best of health and the very best of luck. To
Same to
everybody
you,
else,
Aaron. Thank you, and I appreciate for the opportunity.
you are always welcome on Aaron's Opinion. To you guys out there, um, very best of health to you all over the world. And we'll see you next time. And we have a very special way of ending every episode here by saying my slogan, my motto, help one person today, help 1 million people tomorrow.